This is the only dead zone that can rewrite the laws of physics when a T-34/85 faces a Panther. 12 hours before this legendary shot, he was nothing more than a nameless prisoner in a German concentration camp. Looking at this wall, they had no way out. The tragedy was, there was nothing behind that wall either. A once brilliant commander was now reduced to a piece of frantic labor. 3 years ago, this man was an unmatched tactical genius on the Moscow front. But he wasn't the only genius on the field. He lost to the Luger in the hands of a German colonel. After that, everyone thought he'd rot away in the shadows of the POW camp. He endured hell for 3 whole years. Until, 7 days ago, a wrecked T-34/85 was dragged before him. The colonel demanded he repair it in 7 days. Its purpose? To serve as a live target for the new German Panthers. The tank was little more than a pile of scrap metal. The engine was choked with sand, the wiring was charred, and the stench of fallen comrades still lingered in the hull. The Germans were meticulous. They made sure the prisoners had no live ammo, but as the man cleared the wreckage, he found 6 forgotten 76mm armor-piercing shells. That's where the story and the accident began. He had his crew hide the shells in body bags, even placing them on the ground right under the Germans' noses. Using a funeral for his comrades as a cover, he buried the shells in a grave. Take the chance to scout the camp terrain. While repairing the tank, he wasn't just fixing steel. He was running countless sand table simulations, mapping out every inch of his escape route. Soon, the T-34/85 roared back to life. Startup, off-road, turning. Everything was flawless. The colonel gave a satisfied smirk, sensing a good hunt. The next day, the exercise began. Officers on the tower waited for a slaughter with no suspense. But the man was deploying a plan of his own. They brought branches, soaked them in diesel, and ignited a smokescreen that swallowed the entire field. This wasn't just cover. It was psychological warfare. In the smoke, the German visual advantage vanished. They dug up the 6 shells from the grave in the chaos. High on the tower, the German officers saw the smoke and even praised the realism of the tactic. Then, a shot rang out. The cameras were rolling. The exercise had officially begun. 3 groups of Panthers closed in like a tightening noose. Suddenly, a Panther erupted in flames. The laughter on the tower died instantly. The colonel snapped back to reality, screaming for every anti-tank gun to lock on. But he was too late. The T-34/85 had already used the smoke to flank the tower. This was the peak speed and agility of the T-34. They aimed, fired, and the second shell leveled the command tower. The surviving officers screamed, "Destroy that T-34 at any cost." But grenades, tanks, machine guns, nothing could stop the momentum of the breakout. "500,000 people saw this on shorts, but the progress bar tells us the real show is just starting. Recon planes circled in the clouds. Tread marks on the ground betrayed their location. While the crew celebrated their temporary victory, a shell streaked through the air, hitting the side of the T-34, but by some miracle, it ricocheted off. The man pivoted, pushing the tank into the dense forest. At 55 kilometers per hour, they managed to shake the pursuers. By a river, they stripped off their oil-stained prison rags and dove into the water. The touch of freedom. 3 years in the making. But the danger was far from over. At night, they reached a small town. The silence was deafening. An overturned stroller by the road told him the Germans had evacuated the civilians. He took a sharp turn into a side alley. Across the town, the colonel smiled through his night vision goggles. He was waiting for that exact turn. Just as the man sensed the trap, a Panther shell screamed toward them. Again, the sloped armor saved them. The man retreated, the Panthers hot on his heels. "Delayed fuse load," he roared. Using a small slope to depress the gun, he fired a bizarre, calculated ricochet. The 76mm shell skipped off the ground, bypassed the 80mm front plate, and slammed into the Panther's ultimate weakness, the shot trap. The third shell hit home. He retreated in the chaos to scout the terrain. This was a dead end. Three intersections, all guarded by Panthers. In a narrow alley against 3 Panthers, is there any world where you survive? But the man was a tactician. In the face of death, he hatched a desperate plan. The loader took a grenade and slipped into the shadows, creeping toward one of the Panthers. He was spotted the moment he leaped onto the hull. In a flash, the grenade went into the hatch, but the loader fell on the deck of the German steel. Hearing the blast, the man roared, ramming the T-34 through a wall. The remaining Panthers opened fire. One shell grazed them. Another only shattered the exhaust. They had survived again by the skin of their teeth. They pushed through the narrow streets. One more wall, perhaps their last chance. They smashed through only to find a Panther waiting at the intersection. Despair? It's useless here, the air tasted of death. The man cranked the turret handle like a madman, every muscle in his body trembling. In this moment, the genius is reduced to raw, agonizing labor. The turret moved inch by inch.
Ładuj.
But the T-34's turret speed is 21 degrees per second, far faster than the lumbering Panther. He slammed the gun down. Now! The fourth shell cleared the barrel first. The Colonel's Panther was a reaper at long range, but in a knife fight like this, the slow German turret was a fatal flaw. The explosion rocked the T-34 crew, but before they could breathe, a new crisis emerged. The Colonel had them in his sights. Just as he was about to fire, a shell hit the Colonel's Panther from the side. The Colonel was as confused as the audience. What just happened? The loader had survived. He had hijacked a German tank and saved the lead in the final second. But the Colonel reacted instantly, blowing the hijacked tank to pieces. The man swung his turret.
Nie zdechł.
Both fired at the same time. The shells passed each other in midair. The man was down to his last shell. The Colonel climbed out of the hatch and demanded a face-off between tankers. On a bridge, the ultimate showdown began. The Colonel fired first. The first shell whistled over the T-34's roof. The man used every bit of agility, zigzagging across the bridge. The second shell hit the front plate, but ricocheted off the sloped armor. In the gap, while the Germans scrambled to reload, the man locked onto the weakness he had calculated 1,000 times. The final shell. A clean penetration. Almost simultaneously, a German shell blew off the T-34's tread.
Taranuj.
The crew steered the drifting tank, ramming into the Panther, pushing it to the very edge of the bridge. The man climbed out, aiming at the battered Colonel. But in the end, he didn't pull the trigger. The Panther was slipping. The Colonel reached out his hand. The man hesitated, then took it. A moment of pure, tragic respect between two master tankers. The Colonel's eyes flickered, and with a final, defiant look, he let go.